My church has been central to my life here in the town of Milton since 1959. We moved into the town then, and we started attending church here, and I've been a member here ever since. And I grew up here, and I had an absolute blast here.
I feel our church has real spiritual energy, and since I have a varied background of where I've practiced and delved into my spirituality, this really feels like it fits better. I was raised in a conservative church in another part of the country and purposely left that as become adult. And I wanted to be spiritual. I felt very strongly spiritual. So for years I was one of those people that said I'm spiritual, not religious. And then various circumstances brought me to this church, and I realized I can be both, and this is a place that I can live that spirituality and religion in a very honest way. I can live it inside the church, and I can live it outside the church, because that's what this community does. It just spreads it all through our lives. We don't just live our religion on Sundays. We live it all the time.
My church is where I got married. It's where we had our daughter. It's where we spend a lot of our time. It's where we've met a lot of our friends. And it's a source of spiritual challenges for me, and a great place to learn. But I think the thing I like the most about it is that I've been a lot of different denominations throughout my history in my life in Christianity. And the church is the first place where I felt like I could align my philosophy of life and my political life and my what's important to me with my spiritual life. I don't feel like I have as much conflict between all these different aspects of me in this church, and it's probably one of the first churches where I felt that way.
My church is a warm, friendly place where everyone feels welcome. My church is a place where the Spirit of God is very evident. My church is a place where service community is fundamental to what we do and what we believe.
The music for me is always special. So different music comes at different times of the year. I'm in the choir, so I get to experience that more directly than when I'm sitting in the pews. But always the music, and particularly when we had the organ installed, which was sometime after 2000. I don't know what year, but that really enhanced the music program for me and made it even better than it had been.
Growing up, I was surrounded by people who were very similar to me. And being in our church, I'm surrounded by people that come from all different walks of life and were brought up in all different ways. But our common denominator is our faith and our spirituality and how we love one another and how we can bring that out into the community and hopefully bring the community into us. We have opened up our church to the Haitian Baptists. We've opened up our church to the Temple. We have opened up our church to many different core groups of Milton, of the less needy. We have opened up our church to song and dance, to melodrama, and all of this is something that warms my heart. It touches me in a place that is so deep that I feel I can reach out and bring that to others. And it allows me to be the very best that I can be.
There's a real goodness and kindness amongst the people, and I think we're led by a pastor who really cares, and he demonstrates and expresses the values and the goodness that is in his heart, and I think that draws it out in others.
I mean, there have been outreach things that I've been involved with locally. One of my favorites is the dinner service at the homeless shelter, because you really do get an opportunity to connect one-on-one with people, and you are literally serving. You're giving them dinner and a greeting and sharing a moment, and then also oftentimes accepting their thanks for the little bit that you're doing, serving them a piece of lasagna. So those are special memories.
Men in today's day and age have a lot of responsibilities. We're not just going out and working the jobs anymore. We have a lot of responsibilities at home, a lot of responsibilities as fathers. And one of the things that sometimes gets lost in all of that is that you you don't have as much time to just sort of hang out with your guy friends and do, traditional guy things. And so when the men's group goes on our annual rafting trip up to Maine, it's just a chance to be with the guys. We drink some beer, we talk about a bunch of stuff, we ride a crazy river, and it's a nice sort of throwback to earlier days when we didn't have as much responsibility and things were a little simpler.
The church has made my daughters into fine young women. I feel the church will always be with them, no matter where they go, where they grow up to live.
My church is the family I choose. It's my light, my love, part of my partnership with God. It is a community of choice. It's the way I Skype to God.
My church is the center for my prayer. My church is the center for my family's prayer. My church has been very welcoming to my wife, who was not brought up here in the Protestant religion. She was brought up Catholic. And when we decided that it was time for us to educate our daughters, my wife came here and felt very accepted, fell in love with this church. So it was very easy for us to bring our daughters up here and have them educated here, so that as young adults, young women, they can make up their mind as far as where they want to go with their spirituality. And this church has been very, very rewarding in that aspect in my life and in my wife's life. And it's been the center for us to continue our spirituality and our religion here.
And I remember hearing a quote by Mother Teresa. She had said that the poor and the downtrodden, we're not here to save the poor and the downtrodden, they're here to save us.
One of the most powerful memories I have about the church, so I serve on the deacons, and the deacons, they do communion and they work with the pastor on spiritual issues, and we generally sort of make sure the service runs without a hitch. And when my daughter was going through First Communion classes, she was all excited. I showed up for one of the classes where they practice communion, and she was all excited because she said, "You're a deacon? I didn't know you were a deacon." And I was surprised. I didn't know that we'd never talked about that. But I actually got to serve my daughter her first communion. It was her practice communion, but I got to serve her first communion. And that was a really powerful experience.
I find our church to be an anomaly among many other churches in that it's in a very affluent community. We certainly serve the affluent of the community, but more often than not, we're helping the needy in our community. We have many different groups within our church that reach out to those that are in need.
My church is my sanctuary for prayer.
My church is my community.
My church is the place that I've been looking for.
Our church is truly beautiful on the inside and the out.
My church is my home away from home.
My church is my family support network.
My church allows me to be the very best that I can be, to myself and to others and to everyone we touch.
We don't just live our religion on Sundays. We live it all the time.
My church is a place where I love to go.
My church is a place where I'm called upon to be excellent only in God's terms.
My church is a place of goodness.
My church is a place where I'm always welcome.
My church is the place where I bring my son and my husband to ask what if.
My church keeps me out of the bar rooms.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
My wife thinks it's a great idea. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I think it's
Good.
Really great.
No.
No, just that last one. My church.
My church is fun.
Great. Yeah,
Okay.
and you can actually smile and.
All right, well, I usually don't, but
I know, and don't.
Great, thanks.
Can I make faces at her?
Get out of here.
It'll sound like we're at the bar, right? Oh, this is a church that really has a good time.
Really? Oh. As I was saying when I left earlier, I said, Doug and I were saying that, we can't imagine going another river. We've actually found our true love.
What was special about being with the men of this church?
There's
And I can't remember exactly how I said that the first time. It was different.
You said
So it's the family I choose. It's the love and the light and the partnership.